Welcome to the Essential Skills for Humaning podcast, where we explore the fundamental abilities and insights that make us better humans. Here's your host, Christina Eanes.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of Essential Skills for Humaning. I'm your host, Christina Eanes, and today we are speaking with Jimmy Cannon. Welcome, Jimmy. Let me start that for everyone.
I like that. Let's keep going with that.
Let's keep it going. Okay, welcome, Jimmy.
I love that. I tell you why I love that. Thank you, Christina. Thank you so much for letting me come on your podcast. I really appreciate it. It's wonderful to be here. And if we could continue that, you can edit it out afterwards. This is not going to make sense if you do edit it out. So I'm not giving you any option at all. But no, it's a pleasure to be here. What I love about this is that we are all, you and I were speaking beforehand, and we are both performers, both podcasters, both communicators, both coaches in communication skills, soft skills, hard skills, middle skills, whatever it might be. Too much coffee we have had. And what's really interesting, and I'm sure you would agree, is that it's not all about perfection. It's about sincerity.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's what really fascinates me is that we are all supposedly striving for this sort of this golden goose of communication. And I don't think it exists. And I think if it does exist, it's wrong and it's fake and it's not natural. And your podcast is humaning, which I love. Absolutely love that. So I just, you and I could speak about this for a long time, but I'm going to stop now.
I know. Absolutely. Right. Yeah. And that's what I love. Show up human. Now, I can't wait for our conversation. Before we jump into it even further, can you share a little bit about your background with our listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm still trying to be a singer and performer. And that's where I'm a jazz stroke classical singer. I was classically trained at music college in London, and I lived and worked in London. I'm not living there now. I live in the country near the sea, in a place called Cornwall, which is beautiful. And, I've got a family and everything's changed since COVID. Everything has gone online. So we can go anywhere, which is amazing. So I've been a singer and I've been a public speaking, I've been a vocal coach and a voice coach for 30 odd years, teaching singing, mainly to degree students, what we call a degree, which I don't know what the equivalent would be over there, but it's they're 18, 19, 20-year-olds who are wanting to be professional singers, professional musicians. So I've done that for years. And I've really, really enjoyed that. And I've been very lucky to have performed with great musicians over the years and recognizable people, not so famous people, etc. over the years, which has been fabulous and been amazing. So I've had a very varied and joyous career, and it's gone very quickly all of a sudden. But over the last sort of 10 years, I've been transferring those skills into voice coaching for speaking. That's been the main thing. And I thought I'd be helping people with public speaking in that, the 5 Ps, as we mentioned before. I won't count them now, but mainly projection, actually, and thinking, right, I'm going to be dealing with professional experts like yourself. What invariably happened through a whole series of events when through my studying, I did a master's in vocal pedagogy. So through that, I discovered that most of my clients coming to me were suffering from public speaking anxiety. So that's the focus that I have for the last sort of 5-6 years. That's the focus that I have now in helping people find confidence. And actually people that come to me, they initially come to me about the voice, but there's the other levels and layers that we explore and discover when we have a few more sessions after that.
Nice.
So I love it. I absolutely love working with people on their confidence. It's incredible. Yeah.
Nice. Well, yeah. And I have found that a lot of people don't even think about their voice. Other than maybe if they hear a recording of their voice, they're like, oh, I hate my voice. Right? Absolutely. So I love our topic for today. Your voice is your superpower, but you're using it wrong. So first of all, let's talk about the voice being a superpower. Say more.
Well, I am absolutely fascinated I tell you something I read today, so it's very, very current, is that our larynxes, I've never said that word, our larynxes, that will do. Our larynxes.
That thing in our throat.
The thing in the throat that cradles the sound, it has lowered over time. In fact, it's right. I didn't know this. And so 1,000 years ago, maybe 10,000 years ago, I've forgotten the period, our larynx lowered and allowed us to be more expressive, to communicate. And that's one of the things that has, right? Isn't that amazing?
That's so neat.
Isn't it incredible? I read this article today, and I should try to find it. I haven't got time to find it now, but I will send you a copy of it.
Awesome.
Of the link. Absolutely. So our larynx is lowered, allowing us to create more space in the pharyngeal area, in that area, allowing us to vocalize more expressively. So deeper tone, richer sound, more dynamics, etc., etc. So as human beings, we have developed those communication skills, and that's one of the main reasons that we have our voice, and with that we use our voice now to communicate. And it's really the biggest thing that the biggest communication tool that we use. We use it every day.
Absolutely.
Every day. And I can't tell you how many people that I work with that have to use their voice in meetings, presentations, pitches, etc., that are not using their voice effectively.
Agreed. Yeah. Well, and our relationships are key, right, to being human. And those relationships are built off our interactions with others, which
Absolutely.
Our voice is key. Yeah. And again, a lot of people don't think about that until perhaps they don't have their voice. Maybe they have laryngitis or a cold or
they've lost
allergies.
Their voice. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, of course, yes. So that's very common.
Mm-hmm.
And like a lot of ailments or a lot of challenges that people have physically and mentally, the prevention is the key. So warming up the voice is something that is really integral to, and I must admit, I don't do it as much as I should do anymore, but I do try to. I did a little bit of meditation just for 2 minutes before I came on because I've had a lot of coffee, ironically, and my energy.
Bring the energy.
Well, bring the energy. Exactly. And I tell you what, I was going to say this before, but I'm thinking about it. This is what I've been thinking about it with it. Not while we were talking, but before we started talking and today. We need to bring a certain amount of energy to the proverbial table of communication, whether that be virtually or face to face. Now, that energy needs to be as authentic as possible because that energy can be a nervous energy. It can be an energy that we are not in control of. It can be a different type of energy. And so I'm constantly trying to find that authentic, I hate the word authentic, but I'm trying to find that natural energy when I'm communicating. So that means that I need to diffuse myself from distraction, and I need to maybe do some present moment exercises, mindfulness exercises, just for a few minutes before I start talking. So I'm not distracted by any other physical or nervous energy. But to go back to the question, which is, now, see, here's the thing. Your energy right from the beginning has been so welcoming and just really lovely to be in your presence, quite frankly.
Oh, thank you.
So absolutely. So that has a huge effect on how I react to your questions, what sort of conversation we have. And you make me feel, there's a song there. You make me feel. You make me
so
feel
comfortable. No.
So comfortable. Yeah, exactly. Well, you do. So this is great. So that, we can relax and we can go off and explore these areas. So yes, so warming up your voice is very key. So if people come to me and they've lost their voice, or they're stuck in somewhere, there's a physiological problem or somatic response to anxiety. A lot of the time that will be tight chest, the vocal tract is constricted, maybe globus pharyngeus, which is like a swallow in the throat, which is my first research paper I did for my MA. And it could be a variety of things. That I have a client at the moment. He swallows, and it's a somatic response to the anxiety that he has over the environment. He does a lot of TV interviews. He's a football. I can't tell you who it is, but he's a football coach, and he's very, very aware that he's swallowing. But of course, the reality is that you and I wouldn't really notice it. But he's very, very aware and very conscious of that he's swallowing. So, generally speaking, I'm going off piste here, but that is a somatic response to the anxiety or lack of confidence or whatever it might be, and that needs to be controlled, and that can be controlled in various ways, but it can be controlled by the out breath. Okay, so I'll go back to the warming up the voice in a minute, but if that's okay. But here's a really interesting scientific fact, and this research has proved this. And it's actually Stephen Porges who was the researcher that came up with this. And I can't remember the book, but I will send you the link to the book. But however, two things. If you take a deep breath and you take a belly deep breath, I mean, you can really take a very, very deep breath. A real breath, right? Exactly. And you expand the lungs. What happens is that Christina, you know this. My apologies and my caveat out there before. But
this is for the listeners.
Absolutely. So deep breath releases endorphins, which is the natural happy drug, free, and also lowers the heart rate. Now, a lot of people know that. A lot of people know about the deep breathing, yoga, Pilates, etc. Really, 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 really good for keeping yourself relaxed, keeping yourself grounded, and reducing the anxiety before you speak or before you're going to do anything that's going to cause you any potential anxiety or tension or stress. The really interesting thing is that, and I didn't know this until probably about a year ago, is that by elongating your phrases when you speak on the out breath, by stretching the phrasing and lengthening, using one breath. So if I show you now, if I take a breath and then I use that breath on the out breath and I'm speaking and I'm opening up the vowels, I'm still speaking and I'm using that breath. It's still one breath. You don't have to do a very long breath. Then I would take a breath after that point, right? Mm-hmm. But doing that actually sends a signal to the asympathetic, not the sympathetic, but the asympathetic nervous system, which is the other way around from the vagus, but back from the abdomen back to the vagus nerve via the larynx. And it tells your system, your nervous system, not to shut down. Don't worry, don't shut down, right? So that long, extended breath as you speak, or long extended tone so rather than what most people do is they speak too quickly and they speak in this upper chest voice, they very short breath. Thank you very much for coming, and it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you. Yes, I will, and we'll do that meeting. Yes, absolutely. Right? Yeah. And that's where you're going wrong. So stop.
Get
Take
some
a very
nervous.
slow breath, right?
Wow.
And then elongate the out
I didn't
breath.
know that.
And that will reduce the anxiety.
I love that.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder, my mom, when I was a little kid, my mom used to annoy her friends by having me breathe in and then I would go, for as long as I could. I was doing the elongated breath.
There you go. So was your mama sing? Was your mama singing? Is your mama singer?
No, but she was like, Chris, do the thing. And it would annoy her friends.
So you could do it. That's brilliant. That's fantastic. So so I don't do it with my clients, but I used to do it with my singing students and to, that control over the out breath. I'm certainly not a champion, but I think I can do nearly 60, 70 seconds of just one tone.
Wow.
Out, which I'm sure you can do.
I like
thing,
that.
And
I like the science behind it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to start sharing that in my classes if you don't mind.
Absolutely. It's yours. Absolutely. No problem at all. Yeah. So going back to the warming up the voice. So what's going to really, really help is to waken up the particles on the vocal folds. So to do that, there's a couple of ways to do that. And I'm going to make everybody feel silly and laugh now. And we're going to do what I'm sure you know is a lip trill. Okay. So it's very, very simple. So this is, if you purse your lips together, this is just audio, isn't it? So I'm going to have to try to explain it as narratively as I can. So if you purse your lips together and make a sound, blow air through. So take a breath, hold the breath, and then let the air through, but control the amount of air that comes through the lips, rather like a horse. Okay, so imagine a horse sounding Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So we start with it. You don't have to do that unless you want to. So we start. Go on, you give it a go. Go on, give it a go. That's it. Perfect. That's fantastic. You've done this before. Has someone asked you to sound like a horse before? I think that's
no.
So that the idea is that you want to keep that as consistent as you can. So let me show you. I'm not going to do it properly now. Here we go. Well, here we are. See. You can't smile. Actually, if you do smile, then one trick is to lift the corners of your mouth up and tighten up here like that as you do it. So the next step is to create a tone. So basically you start speaking or singing. So
it's like you're puttering around on the Jetsons.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that sound, what it does, it's called a voiced fricative, and it's also called a semi-occlusive vocal tract exercise. But what it does is I know, so I'm so boring that I'm such a laugh in dinner parties. So it takes the energy away from the larynx. So if you've lost your voice, or you know that you've got a lot of speaking coming up. So if you're doing lots of presentations, pitches, you're in conferences, you're a teacher, or you're a coach and you're doing a podcast, lots of speaking, then doing a couple of these exercises, and I'm more than happy to send you. I have a PDF with video links and stuff on about 4 or 5 warm up routines to do every day. Let me send that to you.
Please, we'll put it in the show notes. Yeah,
absolutely, yeah, for sure. And they just it takes 5 minutes, 2 minutes to do that. There's lots of things: lip trills, tongue trills, NG. NG is where you say the word sing, but then you do a siren, sing. There we are. So you do that, and the idea is that you're again taking the energy away from the vocal folds, but you're also creating what's called vocal fold adduction. So it's really the effectiveness or the closure of the vocal cords themselves. So by doing that, you're helping them, because if you lose your voice, there is a gap in the vocal folds generally. So people with severe dysphonia will have a large gap or potentially nodules around the vocal folds. So it's if you speak like that and you've lost your voice, right? That's what's happening. So you want to get them to close more effectively again. So these very gentle ways to warm up your voice.
I like that.
Really help. Yeah.
I like that. And earlier you had mentioned too, speaking from, and I almost envision this. I didn't realize I was doing it just naturally. My husband calls it my business voice. And I started noticing a little bit more that when I'm speaking, like now or in the classroom or during a speech, I feel like I'm speaking from my diaphragm. But when I'm in just normal conversation with folks, I feel like I'm speaking from like the back of my mouth, if that makes sense.
It does absolutely make sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thoughts on that for professional voices?
I have loads of thoughts. Yeah, no, for sure. Well, we are all speaking from the back of our throat, which is the pharyngeal area at the back of the larynx. And that's where the sound is phonate. So that's where the sound starts, if you like. However, you can control the amount of breath that is coming out. And in fact, the amount of air that's going over the vocal folds. So again, if you're speaking a lot, or you've got a hoarse voice, or you're not, or you want to sound in more of a business tone, then by speaking from, actually, to be pedantic, your abdominal muscles rather than the diaphragm. So actually the diaphragm. So people know that your listeners might know the term diaphragmatic breathing, and which it is, but it's actually abdominal breathings, because the diaphragm works on the inhale. It contracts on the inhale, and then on the out breath, the abdominal muscles push it back up and in, and then therefore pushing the air out. So by creating energy around that area of the abdominal area as you're speaking. So I'll give you an example. If you and I had to go out for dinner, and because I'm British, I would obviously pay. Let's not get into politics. That's not very organic, is it? No. So I would. Let's say you pay. You're going to pay. So what you need to do is get the attention of the waiter or waitress, and you might just gesticulate, and you might just hold your breath and to interrupt, right? You might just, excuse me, right? So that pressure is called subglottal pressure. And before you take a breath, before you speak, you're just taking that amount of energy or pressure is needed to create that business voice that you just demonstrated so wonderfully. Yeah. So that is one way of thinking about how you can engage the core muscles to create that pressure before you speak. Yeah. So you're doing it without possibly realizing.
Without even noticing.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are some other ways you find people will say getting in their own way when it comes to their voice?
Wonderful. So getting their own ways is generally another way of saying that they're stuck or they're avoiding certain environments or scenarios. And that's to do with their own perceptions. So a lot of people, you mentioned before that people hate the sound of their voice. A lot of people come to me and I hate the sound of my voice. I have a monotone voice, or it's very high, or it's very squeaky, or whatever it might be, or I just don't have the power or the energy behind it. And so therefore there's a behavioral side of that, which is that they avoid speaking up at meetings, taking on responsibility, being more the leader that they want to be, or they should possibly be. Not everybody should be or wants to be, but most people do. I think they want to gravitate into leadership positions, or at least be promoted, or have some. So the problem with that is that that avoidance is a result of their voice, and it's sort of a vicious circle, because their voice is stopping them from doing what they want to do, and because they're not doing what they want to do, they're not speaking up, and therefore this is the issue that I find. So it's a case. So my approach is more of a holistic approach, where I studied acceptance and commitment therapy as well, which is a behavioral therapy. I'm not a clinician, but I studied it after my MA for a couple of years with a clinical psychologist, and that was really interesting because I now have some skills to help people practice mindfulness and present moment exercises, which is really, really key, based on values, committed action towards values. And so acceptance and commitment therapy is very similar to cognitive behavioral therapy. So, but rather than reframe the negative thoughts or physical responses, you accept them. You're aware of them being there, and regardless, you move forward, which I think is a wonderful thing. And so it's really about suggesting to people that they come out of their comfort zone, and they okay, so I'll give an example. I have one of my clients at the moment. I said, look, what can you do that would move you forward to where you want to be, feel more confident in yourself and more confident in your voice? And he said, well, actually, I could go out for a drink with some friends at the weekend. And I said, great. Go out for a drink at the weekend, because it's a social environment, it's more relaxed, and there's not the pressure of work, it's not the expectation to speak up in the meeting, or it's not, the expectation isn't there. These are work colleagues, however, but it's a social event. And he sent me a video, actually, because I use a video thing, and he sent me a video, said, Jimmy, that was fantastic. I had a great time. I'm going to do it again next weekend. That's brilliant. Fantastic. So that just having that confidence through his voice and through that action, taking action, is now giving him the confidence to speak up at work and just generally. So it's a compound effect. And so therefore if we work on the voice as well, so we're working on, variety of tone, pitch, dynamics, projection, all the P's. So if we work on, that and his confidence and his presence, then Bob's your uncle, the world is his oyster,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, as you were talking, I was imagining one of the tools that I like to tell people about is the presenter coach in Microsoft PowerPoint.
Oh, okay.
Because it looks at it actually dialogues, the graphics that pop up after the data shows the pitch, pace.
Amazing.
Yeah. Are there other resources you think that people can use? And then we'll get into yours too.
No, for sure. There's a company called Udly, which I don't use for personal reasons. No, nothing, nothing untoward, but that's definitely worth checking out. There's a whole business kind of thing going on there between nothing underscored. But I would recommend Udly as a tool, because it does a very similar thing. And there's a free account, I think, and then there's a monthly subscription, and you can record your video, your presentation, or your pitch, or your story, whatever it might be, and it sounds like it does a very similar thing. So then AI will then give you both your verbal communication, how many filler words you've used, whether my one is I use like a lot, I use that a lot,
totally.
Yeah, totally. Is yours is totally. It used to be absolutely 100%. That was mine. So that they give you the filler words, your eye contact, how much visible eye contact to the camera now that we're working virtually is there, all that sort of stuff, which is very useful. And how much inflection, pauses, pace, all that stuff. So it actually sounds very similar to the thing you mentioned on Microsoft, which is very.
Udly sounds a little more comprehensive, though. I'll have to check that out.
It is. It might be. Yeah. So definitely check that out. Yeah.
Okay, so now we absolutely need to share your resources. Oh. So what do you have for us?
Well, I have my website, which is jimmycannon.com, and also my YouTube channel, which has nearly 20,000 subscribers, which is pretty good.
Wow.
I know, it's not too bad. And I have about 200 odd videos on there, me talking rubbish about the voice and communication. And so that is, I believe it's Jimmy Cannon Voice Coach or Jimmy Cannon Public Speaking Coach. One of you'll find me on YouTube. And so jimmycannon.com and the YouTube. I also have a quiz, which is on every single one of my videos and all over my blog posts and website, which is free. And that is really useful because it differentiates between confidence, voice, and presence. So if you're wondering, what do I need to work on? That will tell you what you need to work on. And then if you want to book a call or you want to email me or send me a message, then you're more than welcome.
Nice. We'll make sure that gets in the episode description.
Amazing. Fantastic.
Awesome. Okay. Your final piece of advice.
Oh, my word. For what? For anything?
Anything. For the listeners.
I love it. Wow. Okay. My final piece of advice: try to be sincere through the tonality and dynamics of your voice, whoever you are speaking to. So whether that is my gardener, Chris, out there, or it's my bank manager, not that I have a bank manager, or it's my wife, or it's a client, or it's you, or it's me. I think that sincerity is the key. And we all know when someone is being sincere.
Yeah, we can read it. Yeah. Oh, I love it. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Absolute pleasure.
Transform your organization with Eanes Training. Our premier interpersonal skills training programs are tailored to enhance your organization's employees in communication, emotional intelligence, leadership, and more. We have a catalog of expert-led courses designed to meet the dynamic needs of today's workforce. With highly engaging in-person, hybrid, and remote sessions, we can help elevate your organization's performance and success. Learn more at eanestraining.com. Thank you for tuning in to the Essential Skills for Humaning podcast. We hope you've gained valuable insights to enhance your journey as a human being. Remember, practice makes progress. Keep honing those essential skills, and until next time, keep being the best version of yourself. For more resources, visit eanestraining.com.